So, Dave, I was
Yes.
reading on Yahoo Finance just a couple days ago. Article titled "Is Cryptocurrency a Good Investment? Financial Advisor Tips." And you and I, who are both financial advisors, we see a lot of articles like this, and I always find something's missing. And I feel like there's a lot of FOMO created around cryptocurrency, but very little on, as an advisor, what exactly do I do next? So the article starts out, it says, you can buy it online. You can get it at the ATM. You can even snap it up in person, which you found at a gas station, right?
That's true. I'll try to throw that up on the screen, see if I can get that picture. Couldn't believe it, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, everybody knows they're hearing about it all the time, and it's on CNBC a lot, which some people watch. But yeah, that or the newspaper. So clients are bringing it up. They're bringing it up to us. We're having the conversations. So we wanted to do this just to give you an idea of how we're treating the conversation and what we're doing over here.
Yeah. And, the article was saying 10% of Americans have purchased or own cryptocurrency. And so as financial advisors, we have a couple options. One, when they bring up cryptocurrency, we could, number one, make stuff up, which obviously is not an option, actually. But some people actually might be doing that. Number two, we could research and learn about cryptocurrency, become educated ourselves so that we can advise clients well. Or number three, I see a lot of people doing this, a lot of advisors that I've been talking to, they just don't even want to have the conversation. They want to push it away, say it's not a real thing. So they just ignore it completely. And if 10% of people own it, there's a good chance our clients probably already own it, and we're not really helping them loop it into the rest of their plan. But
And
I
it's
thought it'd
not,
be,
I mean, 3 years ago, either saying that, disregarding it, or not saying that it's a thing or it's going to be a fad or it's a scam, maybe more understandable 3 years ago, because it was not many people were doing as much with it. But now that some very large institutions are getting into it, I mean, Mass Mutual and other companies are, and it's becoming more mainstream, and brushing it off now might not sound great if your client has any conviction. But that's part of this conversation and what the conversation with the client is. Yeah.
Well, Dave, you've done a lot of research into this. You know quite a bit about cryptocurrency, and what I thought would be most helpful for advisors is one thing that's great about you, and I have the opportunity to work with you, which is awesome. You have a unique ability to communicate in a way that clients understand and feel good about what you're saying. And so I had a client who had questions about cryptocurrency. I invited you into that meeting, and I was really blown away. The clients said they got a ton of value out of it. We can talk about what they decided to do at the end of this as a result of it. But the way you were able to communicate, I learned a ton, and they got a lot out of it. So you've chosen option number two, which is do research, learn about it. And I think advisors would want to hear that from you. And that's where the rest of the articles out there aren't super helpful, because they're just creating, hey, you should jump on this platform I just made for cryptocurrency and helping your clients. But there's a whole slew of steps before you get to investing your clients in cryptocurrency. So where would you get started if you're like, you know what? Yeah, cryptocurrency does have some long-term appeal to it. What should I do next?
Yeah. So I guess I'll give my example. Personally, I was interested in it a few years ago. So I asked our compliance team about it, and actually, investing and seeing, making sure it was okay, and things were clear there. And then I tried it myself, getting on one of the popular exchanges back then a few years ago, and just testing it out and following it. And because, once you do invest in something, anything, you become more in tune with news around it, or you become more interested in it. So I've just been learning. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm definitely not an expert, but learning. And over time, as you learn, you get more convicted in what you believe. So with Tim and the other advisors here, we ended up, at least Tim and I have had some discussions and kind of came to agreement, because we've got we're kind of it's a team effort here at Streamline. So we work together with clients, and so we had discussions. What do we actually believe? What are we comfortable with doing personally? What would we be comfortable with talking with clients about? And again, we're not giving any. You'll see as we talk through this combo with clients, we're not giving specific recommendations on what to do with it. We're just being a knowledgeable resource for them to think about it, think through their different options, and see how it in fact impacts their most important thing that we're doing for them, which is their plan, their financial plan. So we'll talk about all that. But anyways, I just learned about it, got a conviction, and came up with a plan myself, which was, well, I don't even know if I have to go into the detail of it, but it was invest a certain amount of money. And then when if it were to grow, being full aware it could go to zero, but if it were to grow to a certain amount of money, then pulling out original investment and then just leaving the rest in there and then sticking to that plan. That's kind of what I did. But yeah. Oh, you're on mute. We haven't done the Zoom thing before, so
it's our first Zoom call ever. No, that's good, and that's a great. We see that investment pattern a lot, where when you're playing with house money or bonus money, that's a behavioral finance pillar right there, that you feel like you can take more risk with gains than with the original principal. So Dave, walk us through that client conversation that you and I had. A client is saying, hey, I have a couple $1 million saved. I'm looking to maybe invest in crypto. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so the first thing you and I did was we got that conviction. Okay, what would we be comfortable with if this person, what percentage of their either net worth or investable assets could they invest, which wouldn't impact their plan in a big way? So we agreed on that. And then when we had the actual conversation, I think the biggest mistake that an advisor could make is, if let's say that their conviction was it's a fad or it's a scam, that that could be a conviction that an advisor has. A mistake would be giving your opinion too soon or too early initially, right? That's really with anything, not just cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, but really the most important thing I think in the conversation with anybody is them feeling heard and them knowing that there's empathy, where you're understanding where they're coming from. So the first thing we did in the meeting was just really seek first to understand where they're coming from. So we asked them questions, things like, tell me about what you're thinking. Where did you, sorry, I'm getting all these calls now. Tell me about what you're thinking.
Why aren't you picking up? I'm trying to call you.
Yeah. What do you like about it? Have you thought about how much you wanted to invest? This person did. They had a number, a dollar amount. Have you looked at it? What are you looking at? Just Bitcoin? Have you looked at any other cryptocurrencies? Oh, okay. Ethereum, anything else? Would you be looking at this as more of a long-term investment, or would you be looking at this as, playing around, kind of fun money type stuff? Have you looked at any of the exchanges where you could purchase it? And we got into even more questions because they knew a little bit about it. But the thing that we figured out with them was it was mainly the interest was due to others investing in it, specifically a few friends, which is really the most common answer that we get. It is that FOMO. It is that my friend is doing it. This happened with his money. I feel like I'm missing out. Should I do it? So it's good to know that, right? Before you start giving your opinion. But that's the first part.
That's really good. Let me throw you a client scenario, because you're good at this stuff. A client has $3 million invested. They're 5 years away from retirement. They want to put 100,000 into cryptocurrency. That's the scenario they come to you with. How do you talk them through that? And let's assume, you and I had a conversation saying, we'd be comfortable with this particular client with 1% to 2% of their assets in cryptocurrency. They're doing 100K out of 3 million. That's a little over 3%. How do you talk them through that?
Yeah, for that case, if it was more than what we were thinking would make sense, then I would bring it back to their plan, their financial plan. We create financial plans for all of our clients, and we continually update those throughout the year, but I would bring it back and have the conversation around knowing that, Bitcoin is probably here to stay. I don't know about all the other thousands of crypto coins or tokens or currencies, but Bitcoin could be here to stay. And there are still risks associated with it. One of them is just the fraud risk or the easy transferability of it if someone was able to get into an exchange. So the risk is it can go to zero. We're still thinking that way with Bitcoin. So we would look at their plan. We would look at how would the plan be impacted if you did all of a sudden have 100,000 that went to zero right away in the plan, and just continue the conversation. So we wouldn't say, oh, that's too much, you shouldn't do it, but we would at least bring it back to the thing that matters most to them, which is for them, it's going to be sustainable income for the rest of their life. And so they can do the things they want to do. And a lot of times we'll just bring it back to their why, which is we just want to make sure that you guys can do those trips that you want to do, take the grandkids on the mission trips like you want to do, and have enough income so that you can, do all that. So bring it back to their why, and then continue the conversation. I think that didn't exactly happen with us yet, but what would most likely get settled on is they'd understand our plan is working. It's set up the best possible way, how we should be invested. So having, what if it was 50K invested in crypto? Not many people have that strong of a conviction. If they do, they're already doing it themselves, most likely. But that's how I think it would go down.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And even more important, that to be researched and well-informed of some of this stuff so that you can have those conversations, because that probably is the assumption, is they're probably doing it on their own. So. Yeah.
So we would again, we're not giving specific recommendations to clients related to this asset class. But we would probably be recommending, or not recommending, but we would probably be saying that it seems reasonable for somebody to have a 1% allocation, because if we looked at a plan and this happened to it, you'd still be okay. So that's kind of how we're going about it. We would also share, again, because we thought about it and researched it, we've got our own ideas of why could it be a good investment or holding. It's only 10 years old or 12 years old. One thing that you'll hear is it's a possible inflation hedge, because there's a finite amount that they can't create anymore. So that's a common thing that comes up. But and
that's for Bitcoin specifically, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, the risks, we'd be sure to go over the risks around volatility. We just saw recently it going from 62 to 30 in a short amount of time, and knowing that it will probably continue to do that. So you'd have to be okay with that. Other potential risks is really just the news or individuals still, because it's a less than $1 trillion market cap, just Bitcoin. It's still able to be kind of manipulated, I think, because it's not a huge market cap yet. So news does impact its price. And then the other things are the risks associated with if someone was able to get your login to an exchange that's just not offline, you could transfer it and it would be gone pretty much like that. Whereas a bank has that wait period and kind of own protections in place. So there's even a risk. There was an exchange where that completely got hacked, and every single one of the Bitcoin on the exchange for every single client was gone. This was back in, I think, 2013. So still early stages, but that's happened. Maybe that won't happen again, but I still think of it as, if I were to invest, to think it could disappear. That's how I'm still looking at it. So we share that with clients as well.
Yeah. And there's even the different countries around the world are figuring out how they're going to regulate it and if they're going to acknowledge it. And even that right now is causing a lot of volatility depending on what news comes out that day. So
yeah, like specifically with China's saying and doing.
Yeah. Okay. So the client you've listened to what the client has said and where they're hearing about it and what their feelings are about it and what they're hoping to accomplish. You've brought it back to their financial plan and walk them through, here's worst case scenario. If it does go to zero, you're still able to do the things that you set out to accomplish with the rest of your assets, your 99%. You understand some of the risks that we know of right now. So what's the next step then if they're like, okay, Dave, so what could we do next?
Yeah, so we're not investing in crypto for our clients, and we're not really offering recommendations either. But one thing we've walked through or could walk through is sample scenarios. Here's a checklist of, or a step-by-step process of how someone could do it. And again, when we do it, we're not getting super specific, but it's something like this. If someone were to wants to do this and invest a portion in cryptocurrency, step one is really deciding, okay, how much? We talked about these amounts. 1% could be a reasonable amount for them. And then decide what am I doing with it? Am I holding this for the next 10 years? Or am I going to be, is it going to impact my mind in some way? If I'm seeing the volatility, am I going to be tempted to want to watch it all the time?
Yeah, and one thing we brought up with them was, this is a very small percentage investment of your overall portfolio. How much emotional space of your overall portfolio is it going to take up? And we see this from time to time, that really small holdings all of a sudden become disproportionately emotionally part of what they're thinking about. So is my 1% holding 99% of what I'm worried about? That may not be helpful or a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. So then we'll look at, okay, then the person would decide what's the allocation going to be. And the two most popular ones out there are Bitcoin and Ethereum. So deciding maybe like an 80-20 or 60-40 mix, whatever, they might have their own thoughts on it, but decide the allocation. And then the next thought is it going to be invest lump sum or dollar cost average over a period of time? And then look at the exchanges, whether it's the Coinbase or BlockFi or one of the many other ones out there. And then one thing that I
shared, gas station.
The gas station, yeah, because I want the physical coin. I want that fake stuff.
It's the only place you can get it.
So then pretty much at the end of the call, we were talking, I'm trying to remember it all. We were talking about, if you do get on an exchange and you purchase it and you have it, then you decide the difference between keeping it on an exchange or removing it to your own offline storage, which is the safer play. It depends on the amount and what they want to do, but those are the two options there. And then on the exchange, let's say it's Coinbase, just make sure that you've got two-factor set up or Google Authenticator. Make sure that there's a spot in there where you can not allow any transfers for a 48-hour period, so you can at least get alerts and things like that. So there's little things you can do for extra security. We talked about that.
Is that what the kids call cold storage, that offline storage that you were talking about?
Yeah. That in essence is the I don't want to talk about it too much, but like that's why Bitcoin, at least, it'd be hard to regulate, or you couldn't really shut it down. Like a government couldn't shut it down, because as long as you have a 16-word key in your head, no one can really take it from you.
Gotcha.
Unless they had like a Men in Black mind reader thing, but
yeah. Or you forget the 16-word key and then you just took it from yourself and it's gone.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good summary of what we talked about, right?
Yeah. Super helpful. Like I just came away going, wow, that was a great way to walk a client through it in a knowledgeable way, to be that resource for them in navigating something that is talked about a lot. Nobody wants to sound dumb at a dinner party when everybody else is talking about it. And it also empowers them to be able to make their own wise decision about what they should do. And you're helping them without, what's the word? Compromising their long-term financial plan.
Yeah. So how has the conversation, or what has been the result of the conversation so far?
Yeah, so I followed up with the client after we talked, and they said, you know what, it was great talking with Dave. He knows this stuff really well, and even put it in such an easy to understand way. Um, and they just came to their conclusion that they were like, we don't have any business doing it right now, at least. And so that was interesting. You know, they even, when we were having the conversation, uh, Bitcoin Bitcoin, for example, was around, I don't know, 50 or 60,000. And then when I followed up with them, it was 35,000. And so they got to see in hindsight of a point in time not choosing to invest, actually feeling really good about that, just in their situation, that they probably would have worried about it, and they probably would have checked it a lot more often than their other long-term investments. So you put it in such a great way. That's the conclusion they came to, and all that without really giving them specific advice, which was great. So
Yeah. And I think that will be a common conclusion for a lot of clients, because they'll come away from the meeting knowing that, okay, they're knowledgeable, but I'm doing all right with the way that I'm doing it now. So I feel good about that. There'll be a point in the future where uh, maybe the demand will be stronger from clients, and that will be great for some of these advisor friendly uh, softwares, or whatever we call them, where we can
platforms.
actually, yeah, we can do it for clients um, when it does become stronger convictions. But if they are very feeling strong about it, they're going to do it.
Mhm.
If not, you heard them, understood what they're looking for, and then they decided not to do anything. So that's a win for them and you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for taking the time. I think advisors will get a lot of good takeaways from this in terms of at least having some next steps. So you read one of these articles, cryptocurrency is not going away. Your clients are asking about it. What do you do next? Dave, this was awesome. So thanks for sharing with us your wisdom.
Yeah, sure thing. Good talking with you. Take
All
care.
right. See ya.